See that? And I didn't even make it back in time. Damn it. Okay. I was wondering, for your concept art, Corpus, do you have any more details behind? Well, we're going to talk about that right now. We're going to talk about what basically our game is and what we're doing. Now, let's do a quick rundown. Like I said, it started out as a question that was asked on our stream as to if I was to start making a game today, what would I do? Was what the question was. And there's a lot of new people, so we'll discuss that here real quick. Let me get the page up. And so what I had said was that I would take a big piece of graph paper and basically start throwing ideas onto that piece of graph paper. But because like I said earlier, is I didn't have the ability to throw a piece of graph paper up on the camera and stuff, we went to Miro instead. So let me show you our Miro board that we started on. Let's go. I think it's this one. Should be this one. Let's take our logo down, of course. Where is our logos? There it is. It has to go away. There. So we started out here, and what we did was basically we started out with this here, which is just like, okay, we have three characters. You know, we have the kid, we have the I'm gonna fix that real quick here. Let me fix the window. We have the kid, we have the grandfather, we have all that stuff, and we have the grandfather's brother. You know, his grandfather's twin brother, and this is what we basically started out with, and that's not what I wanted to do. I want to do this one. Okay, just trying to make this window bigger is all. Okay, it's not going to go any further that way. Not going to go any further that way. Okay, well, then we'll just zoom in. I really don't like how OBS handles stuff. But so we started off with, okay, we have the kid, we have his grandfather, and then we have his grandfather's brother. And that was basically the story is the kid goes off to a faraway land, he comes back, and grandpa's missing. So, and basically the overall story was that grandpa was kidnapped by his brother because his brother wanted secrets from him for the family fortune or whatever. You know, and there were no, they weren't Vikings, they weren't anything. We had no concept for the world itself or anything else. So we started just building something out. So we're like, okay, so we have a basic village. First, we have like granddad's house, and this was just us throwing stuff up on the wall. So it was just like, okay, we're putting post-it notes on the wall. We had, okay, granddad's house, which is where the boy and the granddad lived. We had granddad's training because maybe he had a little dojo where he taught people. You know, we had a clinic where granddad would help the people in town for medical needs and stuff like that because he was a wise guy, you know. And then different things that were in the forest. And the green this was our forest area, and granddad lived in the forest with his grandson. And there was a lake and all this other stuff. So we started talking about, then we started talking about the town itself and what's in the town. And we started going, okay, what's in the town? There's a bakery, there's a meat shop, there's a general store, there's a restaurant, a blacksmith, town square, boarding house, stables. You know, we just started throwing everything up there. What kind of things are up there? Carpenters, clothing guys, you know, tailors, barbers, candle makers, pottery shops, you know, schools, all that stuff. So we started building out what's in town. Then we said, okay, well, if the granddad's brother is pretty much opposite of granddad, then we said, okay, and there's a mine, and I said, okay, well, we'll have 16 levels for the mine, and then we'd have all the stuff. So there's the granddad's brother's house, all the things that are bad about the mine. Then the mine has its own clinic with a nurse and a doctor. You know, we just started putting ideas up there. What's there? The foreman's hut. You know, all those kind of things. I know this is a lengthy conversation, lengthy explanation, but I think that's fine right now because I usually try to keep it shorter. So then we went, okay, well, what about the mines? Do I have to worry about designing mines? So I said, okay, you know what? You can go to a place like dungeon.app backslash dungeon. And I just made up some seed codes and said, okay, we now have 16 levels for the mine that were made by that. And we just put them in there, and I kind of put them in randomly, but connected them by stairways and stuff like that. So we at least have something in there. And we wouldn't spend a lot of time worrying about designing mines yet. What we do is we just use this for now so that we have a placeholder. And so that's where this all came out of. And then we started working on story points and stuff like that, where, let's see, that's the older one. We'll use the newer one. So one of the things that was going to happen was and we have it in the game build that we have right now, is that he would have when he went to start looking for his grandfather, he would be advised by the wise man in town that runs the temple to go to the crypt of his grandparents, and they would help. Their spirits would help advise him what to do next. They would also, we were talking about that they would give him advice. They would also give him skill sets. They would give him wisdom, and then we wrote some simple sample dialogue and stuff like that. Just real simple things. Then we started just basically fleshing everything out. So we went, okay, what are our story points? What could we have for an opening? And even that's changed. So a lot of the stuff doesn't exist anymore, but it's where we began. And we just started putting stuff up here and breaking it all down. And then we talked about reputation and there be certain things in there that gives him a negative reputation. There are other things that give him positive reputation. And then people would treat him according to what his reputation score is. And so we just started breaking it down. Then this was things we need, different things that we're going to need as far as artwork and stuff like that. This was all very basic. We also had a farm area, as well as a train stations for not just the townspeople, but also one for the mines. So they would have their own train station for sending whatever it is they dig up, And then what was this? That was nothing down there. That's all we talked about that. So this is where we began, and we started putting these ideas together, and then we started saying, okay, what about side paths and stuff like that? What are the side quests, things that aren't on his main path, but what are that are there? And so we started writing out his main path, things that he has to do in order to progress in the game, and then but not like the other things that people give him to do, which will be a completely different thing. And we started putting together a spreadsheet, which is over here. So we started putting together a spreadsheet with each of the people in town, and then what quests they would give him at each level he's at. So because I'm like, okay, well, as the axe boy would at level, if our character's level 0, he says, I need more axes, and he would go and find him more axes, that kind of thing. But this spreadsheet here, or this block of stuff, was what they would give him based on what level he is, so that we just have a running thing for it. So we always have it. Then what was this one? Oh, this was the animations. We started breaking down what animations we need for our main character, and then how many frames are in each one and stuff like that. Like I said, we're pretty way, way, way back at the beginning. And these were the notes we were taking the other day, because we were having a session of just talking about stuff. Is when were the Vikings removed from this dimension into the other dimension? It would be before they ran into the Saxons. Was something we talked about. They're in another dimension. They have to start completely over. They gain steam tech for whatever reason. Maybe Steve thought it up. They have to make everything from it. The mine stuff. The forest people are more enlightened. Now, this is where I was having trouble doing this, but I figured out last night what to do in regards to the steampunk people that work and live in the mines and come to town, and the other people, which we were saying they're enlightened Vikings or whatever, you know. So I figured out what I would like to do with that, and it does change one of the big things that I talked about. And one of the biggest thing it's going to change is the ancestor stuff, because it's going to take our ancestors and basically remove them. And here's why. I know that sounds weird, but it's instead of going to the crypt to the ancestors, we have our two factions. We have the grandfather faction and we have the grandfather's brother faction. The grandfather's brother faction is all steampunk Vikings, which is what we were talking what we're talking about. And we're talking about concept art for them because we're trying to understand them. The grandfather side is traditional Vikings, meaning the original Vikings, the original beliefs. So instead of having the ancestors like we have here, the statues that are destroyed aren't the ancestor statues. They are the gods' statues, the gods they brought with them. So we can have Odin and Frigg and Thor and stuff as statues, and then they can learn from those gods as they replace their temples, their altars for each one, instead of our ancestors. It gives us a whole new thing, because then we're like, now we have a reason why they're separate. They're separate because there is the traditionals, and then they're separate because there is the steampunk types. So what we did once we had like this basic breakdown here, which is what we went through in the beginning, I said, you know, for me designing something, I need a place I can walk around in. You know, so I said, why don't I take Game Maker and build us a world that we can walk around with and try some things and stuff like that. And I'm going to bring our very first. So I knew nothing about Game Maker, absolutely nothing. And I knew that you can make games in it, but after that, never touched it, never used it, because it was never anything that I had to learn, you know, or care about. I opened the wrong one here. Let me open the right one. Open recent. We want this one. So because I knew nothing about it, our first attempt was absolutely hilarious. Let me, I'm going to pull that up for you. So let me get a Game Maker up here. So I'm like, okay, I'm a smart guy. I can figure this out. So we went and I made this. Let me pull that down. And I'm like, okay, so I went into Game Maker and I took a 4-part tutorial and I watched the tutorial and I went into Game Maker and I made this little mock-up. So here is Granddad's house, you know, and then we have, let me click on this so that I can see the mouse. Yeah, okay. So here's my little character. He's just a dot. Here's Granddad's bed. Here's my bed, or our character's bed. Here's their kitchen. Here's their little living room area, you know. And so let me do a build so we can, I think I already have a build of this one. Let me look for it real quick. So we did that. We also built the little the town. So this is the town, you know. And if you look at the white box at the top, that's the size of our viewing screen. So you can see I knew so little about Game Maker that my scale was completely freaking off, you know. And it was, but we did have our happy little trees, which is one of our emotes in there. Let's see. That's a great idea. Yeah, so that's what I came up with last night, was the idea of splitting them that way, because I thought I wanted a reason why. But it also goes back to, because I'm talking about the two factions. It also goes back to you have to be able to, even though you love an idea, and I love the family crypt idea really, really much. It was like one of the anchors for me for the game, but it didn't work. It did not work with the direction that we changed to in the last week, going to steampunk Vikings and stuff like that. It just didn't work. So my brain went, okay, well, what is the difference between the two? And that made the most sense to me. The steampunk slice of life, is it abandoned and abundant and in most of their life, or is it like, okay, no, it's for the people who live in town and the mine. It is their life. It is 100% all about their life. For the grandfather side, they're more about the traditional Viking beliefs and gods and stuff like that. Another thing that made me think about splitting them like that was I was watching American Gods a couple weeks ago, and that one made me think, oh, we could do something completely different and come up with some stuff. Um, Happy trees, always happy trees. Sorry, I'm looking for any other questions. It's awesome you're doing it. I love game dev streams. Yours is one of the best I've watched. Oh, wow. Because of the types of decisions you entertain. Yeah, you have to entertain all ideas. You guys, a lot of the ideas from the stuff we're doing now were brought by you guys. But we had, when I did my tutorial, we went and built every single building. We did all that stuff for in town. And obviously massive scale problems. So then I went and I did God, what is it? Sarah Spalding's 51 part Game Maker Studio tutorial. And I learned that my scales were completely off and that my scope was completely off and that I needed to make some adjustments. So I went and did her tutorial, which I suggest if you want to learn Game Maker, it's really, really good. It's 4 years old, but it's okay. It's good to go learn. So let me see if I can bring our new one. So that led us to build this one. Sorry about that. That's Steve. Hello, Steve. How you doing? So this is our new town. It's much smaller, and you can see by the white square, which is our screen. This is what our new town looks like. And we have that one. Let me center everything here. This is our title screen. This is our one of our forest areas. This is our village. This is Grandpa's hut, and then his clinic. We kind of got rid of the dojo because it didn't kind of fit. Now we can build this out to where it's a smaller version. It's just a small part of a small town. I would say no more than 5 buildings in it, based on the new idea that I just kind of threw out there. Then we had our forest between Grandpa's house and the village, and then here's our town. So our town's a lot more compact, and because I didn't have people to put in it, I went to an AI and just said, okay, build me some Vikings. So they built us little Vikings. They drew us some Vikings, and we used them as stuff. So now we can, and I'll do this real quick because I don't know if the build is working. I will do the build, and we'll run the build. And yes, it does have this button here that you can do a preview run on, but for some reason on my system, it kills OBS, so we can't do it that way. So I actually just have to create a build and run the build, and that works out fine. So it only takes a couple seconds, and you'll see that in a minute because the game is coming up now. So thanks to Sarah's tutorials, we were able to take a huge jump forward, even though I had to take literally, I think it was 5 or 6 weeks to actually finish them all. So it seemed like forever. So this is where our game is kind of at now, but it is playable. It has all the stuff, and you can walk around the town, and you can go in and talk to people. Like I said, there's still some issues, but you can talk to everybody. So all the technology is in there for doing that. But this week we decided that making the town steampunk Vikings would actually be kind of cool. Now, but as of today, when I threw the idea out there to make them traditional versus steampunk, there's a lot of things that we can do there. Like we'll now build this up to where it's not just 2 huts, it may be 5, and it's people that still go by the old gods and still sacrifice to the old gods. And I think that's kind of cool. That can be kind of cool. And it's something that we can play with, I'm sorry, I'm seeing it was not to be an analytical killjoy, but have you done into Steam and made a list of games in the same genre to learn from? No, I have not. I have not put that up because that's not what I was asked. I'm not I'm not worried about the monetization of this game. I'm worried about making a good game. What do you mean by sacrifice? That has to be decided. I don't know how the Vikings celebrated their gods. I'm not that deep into what Vikings did, so it's something I have to learn, because this was originally not Vikings. It never was supposed to be Vikings, but we just used Vikings as a standpoint. So I don't know what kind of sacrifices Vikings made to their gods. So and now we have zombies. Sparta. 9 chickens, 9 goats, and 9 men. Okay. No, I have not, because the thing is the games that I liked way back when, this is what started me even thinking about using GameMaker for our mock-up, is I really liked like Secret of Mana, the original Zelda, all those things. I like those top-down perspective 2D games. And I don't think enough of them are being made these days. And I think that there's a good opportunity there. Is the aim for 2D? Right now it's 2D. Because one of the things the reason I even did the mock-up was because it gives us a world to test things in and to try things in. Now, once we finish it, if it's a fun thing to do and it's a fun game, we might leave it in 2D, or we may take the whole thing over into a 3D program, Unreal or one of them, and say, okay, let's rebuild this whole thing in there. Because we know we have an idea that's fun and can work with. It could also be done in a 3D world and stuff like that. So it's more about testing ideas and coming up with things that work and find out if it's fun to play or not. You'd be able to get a Sprite file that you roughly... We don't have any art whatsoever. This is all just stuff I threw together. Even the characters that we have in here are from the tutorial that Sarah put together. They're not ours. I have changed the artwork because I'm trying to get all of their artwork out of it as soon as possible. Those are what they sacrificed. Okay, cool. One of each species for each of the main Norse gods. Oh, cool. Would you still be willing to look at crypt designs? I know that you didn't see it fitting within the scope, but I have some ideas about how it might look. Perhaps I could, yeah, just put it in the Discord and I'll take a look at it. Okay. Yeah, but now the crypt is going to probably be removed and be replaced by the others. So for those of you that don't know, we did build a graveyard up here in the top of we go up here past the temple. We do have a graveyard, and we have some silly stuff in it because it's funny, you know. because it's funny stuff. I like funny stuff. Died while attempting to surf the tsunami. Hold my beer. This is going to be legendary. Kerry White died in a battle with a great mage. He said I looked fat in my prom dress. Silly stuff. And then we had built the family crypt up here, and there's the ghost of Steve. So, ooh, I'm Steve, the scary ghost, which we put in yesterday just as fun. But each of these was supposed to represent one of his ancient family members. But the problem I came up with was this: is if they were brought from the other dimension, I don't think that we can justify coming into the story 9 generations later. I like the idea of coming into the story as early as possible, which means that there would be no ancestors really buried here. They would be buried back on Earth, So I thought that it would be better if Grandpa and his group still worship the old gods, and then people in town in the mine would be the steampunk. They're advancing to steampunk and all that other stuff. So like I said, this idea in its entirety is only 13 weeks old. So we do not have a lot of stuff. Grandpa lived on Earth. I don't know that answer. Were mom and dad born on Earth? Those are things that we're going to have to answer. So I would say Grandpa would probably, if we do a thing where Grandpa came and everybody came through the dimension when the Grandpa was, say, 10, which is an important age. My understanding from the conversation we were having the other day is an important age for Viking boys, because that's when they can stand up and do whatever. I have to learn my Viking lore. I don't know it. But if the grandfather was 10 when they came through, it gives enough time for the small faction to be created and for the steam part faction to start. Connect to the earth and ancestors and learn powers through them. That was the idea, yes. That was the original idea, but now we're going to make the ancestors, in fact, in the original write-ups. I'll show you, go back to the design page here. In the original write-ups, if we go to them, and these were written like, I think the first week, is as you put together the ancestors' broken tombs, like first ancestor, the great-great-great-grandfather might teach you the power of the lion's roar. And I just made these things up off the hand. So great-grandmother would teach you the turtle shell, which is gives you great defense powers. But now great-grandfather would give you falcon sight, which means you can see things far away. What if the grave markers are simple and for people they believe they lost during the dimensional separation? Maybe. That's an interesting idea. The idea being that if some of the gravestones would be for people they left behind, that could be fascinating. They might even have, and we could work this into the game lore, they might even have a day of remembrance each year for the people they've left behind. That could be something pretty cool. What if the grave markers come from I feel like there is far too many ideas thrown and none really kind of connect with each other to enhance the story or gameplay. Well, that's because it's, like I said, we're only 13 weeks into this, and we work on it about 2 hours a day, sometimes less. We used to only work on it for an hour a day. So we are very much in the beginnings of this. That's why we're kicking every idea around. Where the version we have now, where there's a separation between them, and we can now, if we go with what I'm talking about, we can now identify what the separation is, because we couldn't before. Is it makes more sense with what kind of people Vikings were, in my opinion. And no, we're not that far along. You know, in if we were a normal, let's say 12 people in a room, 8 hours a day, 7 days or 5 days a week, this, instead of 13 weeks, I would see the equivalent would be we're 2 days in to this, to an idea for a game. I might have missed this, but did they travel through dimensions for a particular reason? We haven't even thought of that yet. Was there a war, famine, or was it Ragnarok? I don't know the answer to that, and that's something that we will have to work out. All we know for sure is that they came through the dimensional portal before they went to the Saxons, before they attacked the Saxons or interacted with the Saxons. That's the only thing that we've actually said from them leaving to being here. Are there rumors and myths of it opening at random? Oh, of course, there has to be. You want to have an idea that there's and it may be the grandfather's followers. They may be the ones that believe one day the portal's going to open and they're going to go back. I think that makes sense based on them following the old gods, is they don't want to go back and be traitorous to the old gods. Yeah, this is literally we just are talking online, and this is what we've come up with. And it was a thought experiment to begin with, and then we started working on other things for it, and it's expanding out so we can learn different things. And here's where, in this one here, is where the whole steampunk thing came from, because we only came up with the idea for steampunk like Monday. Was it Monday? I think so. Yeah, because we can incorporate steampunk and clockwork and things like that, so that kind of stuff. I don't think it's so they can Bowman's. I don't think it's so they can fit in. I think it's so that I think they believe that if they don't keep to the old ways, if they do go back, the gods will reward them for that. If they go to the new ways and go back, the gods will punish them. That's what they believe. You got an explanation if you use Bifrost, the rainbow bridge that connects the realms. Odin could have teleported them. Oh, maybe. Yeah, like I said, I have a lot to learn in regards to Viking lore. My job is to get them lost. My job is not to do anything else. I wish I could stay, but I need to sleep for work. Please, yes, go sleep for work. Chess Queen, thank you very much for hanging out with us. Yeah, and that's a good thing for us too, is because there's so much lore that already exists with regards to Vikings and stuff like that, and we're looking at the old beliefs. There's a lot of stuff in there. In fact, I mentioned Gaiman's book, Norse Mythology, which I read years ago, and I have to go back and read again so that I can come up with more stuff. But I think that picking the nine major gods of Norse mythology and equating them to lessons that our character needs to learn and what abilities they can give him or her, then we can we can actually make something pretty cool. Because he could become the champion of the old gods by putting them back in, by putting their altars back in place and fixing them and all that stuff, and then not completely reverse the steampunk stuff, but incorporate it into the steampunk belief system in the end of the game, something like that. It's just it's an interesting concept, and I think we're getting somewhere now, because I literally, like I said, I had a lot of conflict with in my head because I couldn't understand why Grandpa would be separate once we went to the steampunk idea. And I think going back to him being a traditionalist to the old gods and his followers being the traditionalists to the old gods makes sense. Yeah, I'm a huge believer in Joseph Campbell. So I every now and then I'll go back and watch the 6-part series that he did way back in the 70s and 80s with George Lucas, talking about storytelling throughout human history. Good stuff. No, I think we should. I don't think. I don't know if. I don't believe it should be classic steampunk. I think it needs to be a variation based on Viking lore, because I don't think classic steampunk would have happened. They're inventing it on their own based on their beliefs, and I would look at it from that point of view. Okay, this is going to be a long one. Okay, but I'll try to summarize potential lore. The island they are on is teleported by Bifrost to an unknown realm. They cannot escape by ship because of Great Serpent, and they are close to the frozen island of the giants and constantly under siege. Some believe it is a blessing, for they are the greatest warriors. Others believe it is a slow punishment for their extinction, splitting the two groups. Interesting. So ruin power steam machines, yes. That's kind of cool, yeah. Jellyhammer, that actually sounds quite interesting. Sparta, I think you're right on that. I think that it's more a punishment for not splitting the two groups, but a punishment for stepping away from the original gods. If that makes sense. That's what the grandfather believes. The other, the followers of his brother, might believe what you're saying, is that because they're split and they're not all together, that's why the attacks keep coming. But it's cool because we get to write basically two sets of lore, and that to me is always interesting. I like it when there's more than just one side to any NPCs that you run into, that they have a storyline as too. And I've mentioned this before when we created the Machinima team back at Blizzard, is I wanted to know what the character on the street in WoW was thinking. I didn't want to know what the developers were thinking. I didn't want to know what the player was thinking. I wanted to know what the character on the street in Orgrimmar was thinking while he's going and getting his buckets of water or whatever he's doing. So that creates your two groups: the believers who are waiting for reinforcements of the gods, and the heathens who are ready to do anything to survive. I wouldn't go far as to, I want to make sure that both of our beliefs believe that they are doing the right thing. Because some of the best villains I've ever seen in games and movies and stuff like that believe what they're doing is right, even while they're doing horrible things. Ancient ruins to imbue themselves with the magic of the gods, and the heathens have spent the last few decades advancing science and creating war machines capable of taking on the giants. Okay, yeah, that's something like that works out great. Because you can still create war machines with new technology and still have a belief system. Correct. They both have to believe that they're leading their people to salvation. And we don't ever really see that much open fighting between the two groups. The two groups are still working for the same thing to try to get the giants back. They're just doing it in different ways to fight the giants off and all that. They're just doing it in different ways. So, and each of them believes that their way is the right way, and one believes that their way is the right way because the gods will rain treasure down upon them because they kept to the old ways and worship the gods. And the others believe that the gods are going to reward them because they've taken the gods to the next level. I haven't played Frostpunk. I've never heard of it. I'll go look at it. Like they'll never get in Valhalla if their tools of war do not do the fighting for them versus possibly that's actually a good way to put it. Is if their tools are doing the fighting and they're not hand-to-hand fighting, then they'll never get to Valhalla because you only get to Valhalla for fighting yourself yeah. But in by dismissing the knowledge of steam power. Yeah, there's a lot of fun things to play with there. And like I said, we only just the steampunk thing I believe only came up on Monday, and we had talked about just just the people that are on here every day coming up with some concept art and stuff like that, and then we expanded that because we thought it was a good idea. But yeah, very briefly, Frostpunk is a management game that where the tagline is the city has to survive, where you make very tough moral choices. Now, I think that some of you new guys may not realize, but I don't want to lose we're experiencing the game from the grandson's perspective and eyes. Because his grandfather is still missing. We can still do the grandfather missing thing when he comes back from the faraway town. you know, um, and he still has to go into town and try to figure out what happened to his grandfather, and we can still do the thing where the grandfather's brother took the grandfather. And the whole point of the game is for him to find and rescue his grandfather. So I think that still stays. Very briefly. Okay, yeah. Yeah, and there will be moral choices, and that's why in fact, let me get it up on screen here. That's why we had this here. Let me see where it is. Here it is. Is your reputation bar. Is you have a life bar, but you also have a reputation bar. And based on where your reputation number is how people in town treat you. People who you go to get help from treat you. If you're in the negative, if your balance bar or your reputation bar is in the negative, then they're going to treat you poorly. If it's in the positive, they're going to treat you good. If you're neutral, they're going to be all right. They're going to be hit or miss whether they're going to help you or something like that. Heathens are names that must be workshopped. Yeah, heathens is a tit. I want to keep away from the negative connotation words as much as possible, especially since I would go back to what did the original Vikings before the Saxons call people that disagreed with them. I think I want to keep to more traditional that without getting into modern day words that have negative connotations that wouldn't be applied to that time. Yeah, just have a separation. Because we can say traditionalists and then, okay. Traditionalists would be the grandfather's one. I don't know what I would call the other ones because they're not doing a bad thing. They're just doing it differently. Yeah, both groups still live together in town, all that kind of stuff. All those kind of things are still there. And we have our zombie attacks, so yes, we're just trying to flesh out the world. You're absolutely right. And it is the hero's journey, and Joseph Campbell's model still stands up, you know. Worm food. No, we don't call them worm food. They called people they disagreed with. Did they really call them worm food? That's interesting. I did not know that. I thought you were joking. I have to go back and watch. I think I'm going to go back and watch the 13th Warrior. There were some interesting things in that I thought that could be. I don't know. For some reason, I feel I need to go back and watch that movie. And if don't like worm food, shark beat. Should we have an excuse for having the factions still live together? I don't see a problem with the factions still living together. I mean, there are the from the way I think about it is there are the main leaders of the traditionalist group that live near and around Grandfather in the Forest. But there are followers of both, because we can say that the mines are the central location for the belief in steampunk, you know, and then the city, the town is actually both, has both living together and all that, because they do have a common enemy in the giants, and we would need to address that. But their fighting is never really against each other per se, but that's why the grandfather being taken is such a out of normal thing that happened, and why the grandson is trying to find him. I don't think we need an excuse. They're still in a foreign dimension. They still have to count on each other to survive. Yeah, it would, but we only came up with the idea of Vikings and stuff on Monday. So, but I can't argue with that. Yes, learning the mythology. In fact, that's what we had talked about with Gaiman's book, Norse Mythology, is a pretty good one. Yeah, they had some interesting ideas in the 13th Warrior. I know that it wasn't. They did some cool stuff. One of the things they did in that movie that I thought was fascinating is when he started understanding their language. I thought the way they handled that was really, really good. Oh, our ads are done. Zombie has gone. Zombies have left the building. Yeah, so we also talked about like things that were in the forest and stuff like that, and all this stuff is sounds that we'll need and music themes and all that kind of thing. So we were just throwing ideas out and putting stuff up. Now we're actually One thing that we did not do in this beginning part and all that is we never talked about what world it was in. And Monday was kind of like, okay, let's start talking about that because we have a basic setup in Game Maker, and where basically there's a lot of obstacles because we don't know what world we even live in, what the world itself looks like, or things like that, or what kind of people are in it. And that's when we started talking about the the steampunk and all that other stuff. Yes, that's what I was just thinking of. Is maybe the groups have gotten they've meshed together pretty equally, but the brother kidnapping granddad is something new that hasn't happened before. And one of the ideas that came out earlier was that the brother kidnapped granddad because he wanted the secrets of the family treasure. I think that's kind of I don't think that fits here, but uh, Hero, thank you very much for the follow. But so we need a better reason for the brother to kidnap granddad now, and I think it has to do with something of maybe the brother isn't happy that the factions are getting along, the two factions are getting along so well. Um, or maybe he thinks that the brother's hiding something from him, that the granddad is hiding something from his brother, but I just don't know what it is yet because we're still pretty new on this. So maybe even the call for concept art was a little too early, but we I need visuals to get my creative stuff going, which is why I built the little town in Game Maker in the first place, is so that I could walk around the town and get a feel for it. Wouldn't best way to flesh out a world be first learning? Yes, it would. I I'm not arguing with that. Yes, you're absolutely right. It would be first learning all the mythology and all that for that. But that's not how this started. This started as just an answer to a question. And we're only just now getting the idea of what world it lives in. So sorry, I'm scrolling through and looking for things to say at your joy, and I may have already answered that. It seems like a pretty awesome, yeah, but you should be asking. Uh, I need no. Where is that question? Sparta, if you want to make a group that goes against the gods with science, could their housing architecture also include a lightning rod that harnesses the power of electricity? Yeah, we can explore all those ideas. Where do they get their power from? All that kind of stuff. And that's one of the reasons why we have Steve, which is Steve is a genius who thinks about these kind of things, and probably built things like water wheels and things like that to generate power from the rivers and things like that, so that they had all that kind of stuff. And maybe he did build a battery system that uses lightning rods that are in the house, in the tops of the buildings. And then every now and then someone gets fried on one, but that's okay. Yeah, they could be farmers, hunters, but they could also be. One thing I do know about Norse mythology is they can be farmers, they can be all that stuff, but they still have a never-ending drive to go out and fight. So the giants do give them a reason to go out and do that. Sparta, he's reading through a pretty thick book on Viking mythology at the moment, so that is in the process already. What is that for? Sorry, I'm backtracking on stuff. Wouldn't it be? Yes, I'm working on it. But that's another thing that we talked about before too. Is even when I was learning Game Maker Studio, you get to certain points, you have to go and learn things. You can't just go, okay, it's done. You can't take the easy way out. You got to do your homework. You absolutely have to do your homework. Now that we have settled on, or presumably settled on, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to set it up. Now we know the avenues of the things we have to go and learn. Norse mythology is one of them, and it has to be Norse mythology before the Saxon interference or influence, not interference. That's a stupid word to use. The Saxon influence into their mythology, because we want to keep it to the original. So we have to go learn that. Yeah, and you can build based on your comment. I need no name. It could be Thor's power plant. Brought to you by Thor. Electricity. Brought to you every day by Thor. I Break Code says, I think it would be cool if he kidnapped him to learn secrets of the other faction, but it's also a double ploy for him to do something bad. Probably. But he had a vision through Odin's crow that he had to do this to avoid destruction of their people. Could do something like that. Yeah, because we can do interstitial type cutscenes. And we can, it actually might be kind of interesting to do it as you only get an interstitial cutscene when a crow comes around. So if we show, like in the town, a night shot of the town, and we show a crow going over the screen or over the town, that's a signal that Odin is sending a message, and we can build an interstitial movie for that, which could be a lot of fun to make those kind of animations and stuff like that. I actually like that idea. I Break Code. That's actually pretty cool. Yeah. A vision through Odin's crow. Really good idea. Because that's also a way we can carry on some of the storylines. Because we could also make some things Odin's fault, in that Odin sends a crow to the brother that says one thing and a crow to the grandpa that says something else. Then we could do the old. I only did it differently because I'm testing them to make sure to make sure that they still believe in me. We haven't had time to procrastinate doing yet. I have. I agree. I have. In fact, one of the things I talked about earlier this week was that I need to start building a schedule for things that need to be done and when. Yeah, it might even be Loki kidnapping one of Odin's crows and just causing mischief. Could be the brother suspects paranoia that the grandpa knew how to get back home, or at least the knowledge about the portals. Maybe. Okay, that's me. Would Steve be considered by others like Hiccup was in the first How You Train Your Dragon movie? I don't remember the first I don't remember the How You Train Your Dragon movie, so I'll have to go back and watch it. But maybe, I mean, because they're geniuses, but they're also kind of loony. No, Vikings in no way. There is no way that any Viking would be a pacifist. They just don't fight each other. They fight people that are coming at them. So, like the giants, or maybe creatures that actually live in that dimension that we haven't named yet. But I don't think that they live together pacifists. I'm sure that there's still going to be fights that break out in the center of town every now and then because somebody gets upset about something. But pacifists are not. It's not a word I would use for any Viking anywhere. You know, and then we haven't even discussed berserkers yet. So, because we can put a berserker in the bar that every time anybody says anything, he gets all riled up at the point where they can leave. The brother wants to fight, but can't fight with half an army. It's an interesting thought. It's because the grandpa could have been working on ways to reopen the portal, but doing it in such a way that he's trying to get the gods to teach him how to do it. Or if you want it to be a darker, you can have it so he kidnapped the grandfather to find the location of Drill. That word has come up several times. To hang from it, to gain all the notes. Okay. I remember that name because I think that was at one point when we were throwing around names. In fact, let me find it on this screen here. I think that was one of the names that came up to name it when we were originally throwing around names. Yes, it was. Yggdrasil. Let me go back to the screen. So this was long ago. But these were all the different names. Right now I just have a code name Toby on it, but Yggdrasil was one of the words that was named for it, and maybe now it's more apparent. But we were just kind of throwing out names to code name the project, and that came from one of the yearlings from the Scandinavian areas. So they knew much more about this stuff than I did, and probably always will. I heard God of War really messed up some Norse mythology. What about the uncle wants the treasure to bring forth the world serpent of Ragnarok so he can end the old gods and make the world an image of machines or steampunk? Maybe. That's an interesting theory. The brother wants to advance his machines by using the secrets of the mysterious Rowan works. He's had visions of them being able to annihilate the frost giants, but Grandpa doesn't want to get involved with those machine abominations. But if Uncle kills Grandpa, he loses that knowledge, so we have to kidnap him and get it for our hands. Yeah, pacifists are one of the worst swear words in Viking culture, probably. Almost as bad as worm food? There should be a question mark on that. It would be funnier. That's the great tree. That was me. Maybe a good code name to use would be mistletoe, given that was the plant that killed the one Viking god. I can't remember his name, and set off Ragnarok. Maybe we can add it on there. It's one thing about paper. This is what I was talking about when we were putting this stuff together. Paper's free, you know, so you can throw all kinds of ideas on paper, and you know what? It's not going to cost you a damn bit. Boom. Except for the price of the paper and maybe a pencil. So we put mistletoe on there as well. But that's just it. That's what throwing the ideas around was for, was to come up with all this stuff. And this is where we're at, you know. So, but for me, like I said, I need visuals. I need conversations like this, you know, those kind of things. We don't have that here because it's only me. I'm the only one here, and I'm the only one working on this stuff on this side. Americans Gods, I actually brought up earlier today because I think that that is a really good um, where some of my ideas were coming from in regards to having the old and the new. Because one of the things that they do really good in American Gods, which is, by the way, is also written by Gaiman, if I remember correctly, who wrote Norse mythology. He also wrote Good Omens, which is just brilliant. You know, and I'm big fans of David Tennant and Michael Sheehan. So um, I don't know if it ends well yet. I haven't finished it, but I like the idea that the old gods were in a lot of times in direct conflict with the new gods, and I found that extremely fascinating in regards to American Gods. You know, I actually mentioned American Gods at the beginning of the show today because I was thinking about it, and it kind of made me think about the old and new. And I'm pretty sure the grandfather would always be old gods, where his brother had took a more we're in this world, we have to change way of thinking about things. Freya was the goddess of war, and was she the goddess of war? I thought she was the no Frigg. Frigg was the goddess of marriage and love and all that stuff. Here, let's see. I think I looked them up. Let me see. I have the hierarchy of. Okay, so let's look at it. So, where is Freya? There's Frigg, goddess of marriage, fertility, family, and health, wife of Odin. Okay, Frey, goddess of beauty. Let's see, make sure that's on the screen. Freya is goddess of beauty, love, fertility, god, gold, war, death, and sorcery. Lady of folk, Vanger, and sister of Frey, who is the god of summer, sunshine, rain, prosperity, peace, happiness, lord of and brother of Freya. So yeah, I am looking them up, but we will definitely, Gaiman Norse mythology is that's the correct. That's if that's the correct book. Yes, could you? I will put it in recommendations after the show today. Ads will happen in 2 minutes. Okay. I love that from Game of Thrones. Well, where the old and the new gods seem to have their eras. Yeah, I think it's important to do that. I think it's important to because it gives us a place in the story. It gives us an original conflict in the story. It also gives us the opportunity to fix that conflict going forward. And maybe we'll have that answer. I don't have it at the moment, but we can come up with one. Can't forget the mighty space cow who began the world. Okay, I did not know about the mighty space cow. I don't see him on the list. Mighty space cow. Let's do a search for cow. Find cow. I do not know why my search does not work on my on this crap. Just don't work. I don't know who these people are. They need to go away. But yeah, my theory was that if we take the main, it doesn't even have to be the top 9, but I do want nine gods from Norse mythology that we can build the temples to, and that our character can go and rebuild their temples to get new abilities and powers. You could also go the Pierce Jackson and the Olympians route, where the old gods adapt to cover more modern things like Hermes and Male. Does Hermes have the best delivery service? I mean, he is pretty fast, right? saw Bill Barr in there? Bill Burr? Possibly. It may have been a commercial running in the bottom. It's probably a commercial up here. But yeah, so if we took like obviously we'll use Odin. Obviously we'll probably use Thor and Loki. You know, it depends on what skills they can give us and how that adapts to the game that we're playing and that we're building. Yeah. As we go to zombie attacks. Okay, I'll go back. Where is, okay. I will wait for you. Munran. Maybe. The damned artisan. Another idea for a brief belief rift could be the traditionists are wary of others harnessing lightning. That could be. That's actually an interesting. It could be one of the reasons. Because what I think we need to do is once we pick our 9 gods that are going to be worshipped by the traditionalists, we can figure out where we need to pick 9 gods that there is a direct conflict with what the new people believe and what the old people believe. Because they can still have all the other gods, but they may all agree with those other gods. But I want to identify 9 that would be 9 that they don't agree on. And going back to Munran, you could also go to Pierce Johnson and the Olympians route where the old gods adapt to cover more modern things like Hermes and Male. That's similar to what American Gods does. Is they do a little bit of both, but there are newer gods, but they're all little like younger gods. Akakira, thank you very much for the follow. So I think that they handled it really well, is because it also is funny. That damn artisan, thank you very much for the follow. That's also they do really well in American Gods, in that the old gods are just like, they kind of look down on the new gods, or they just think of them as pests. But the one thing they did is the new gods in that show are all younger, a lot younger. They basically portray them as almost teenagers, maybe from 15 to like 22 or something like that. But I find that way of looking at it pretty fascinating. But yeah, but if we can find 9 gods in there where the steampunk side has rejected them as gods, and the traditionalists are elevating them as gods, or still following them as gods. We can have all the other gods too, and they can do stuff with those other gods. But there's 9 reasons why they're different. Except for the world, he was like a young salesman. Okay. Except for the world, he was like a young. Gotcha. I never seen American Gods before, which is good to know. Yeah, when the younger gods come on American Gods, the older gods just roll their eyes and do all kinds of stuff. It's pretty funny. They don't give them, the newer gods don't get a lot of respect, but they keep trying. So you got to give them credit. The original 9 Norse gods needs to be double checked. Should be Odin, Thor, Loki, Freya, Freyr, Nordora, Frigg. Okay, so let me look up who these people are. excuse me, who these gods are. Okay, Odin I know, Thor I know, Loki I know, obviously. Freya is down here. And Freya is also sometimes confused with Frigg, but they're not the same person. Because Freya is more warlike, and Frigg is Odin's wife. She's more about hearth and family and blah, blah, blah. And then we have Hem, he's here. The Watchman of the Gods, Guardian of the Bifrost Bridge. Okay, so yeah, I remember him from Thor. The god of surveillance. Yeah, because even with Hemdale, we could do a thing where the the steampunk ones reject Hemdale because they think that Hemdale is keeping the portal closed from them. That could be a way to look at it. No, I haven't seen the Loki show on Disney. Try Keeper of Laws and Justice, the God of War, Courage, and Duels. So I'm looking up just quick who some of the gods are on your list there, Sparta. The god of the sea, winds, wealth, fishing, former husband of Skadi, father of Freya and Frey. Okay, about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I believe that's only 8. Oh, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, that's 9. Yeah, we can work with that to begin with. If we can start with those. We can still have mentions of the others, so like all the others, as things go by and as we're writing dialogue and stuff like that. But these are the we can use these 9 as the thing that separated the two groups, because we still want threads connecting them to each other. The Loki show. Okay, I haven't seen that. What about Trey, the war god? Trey, keeper of the laws and justice. Well, because they can reject Trey, because they can say that because Hemdale won't open the portal to them, they're not beholden to the laws and justice, the laws of the Viking world. And so that gives them the excuse to go out and do the steampunk stuff and build machinery and things like that fight for them so they don't have to fight. Freya did claim half of the fallen souls. Maybe that's where the portal comes from. She takes them to maybe rather than Valhalla. Huh. Maybe that's why there's great uncle is so mad. You were taken to the wrong afterlife. Funny. They could believe that. Yeah, Disney and mythology I don't think would mix, because they want to, for lack of a better way to put it, they want to Disneyfy that that's the mythology. I got to tell you guys, I really love these discussions, in all honesty. Yeah, they wouldn't know where they're taken. Valkyries do what they're told. Sometimes. Yeah, so we have one thing we've learned today is we have a lot of homework. A lot. You know, I do have the book and do have a lot of reading to do. You know, Disney is a god. I got news for you. I'm surprised that American Gods didn't make a Disney God. But when you're doing game development, these are the conversations that go on. These are you sit in a room and you hash it out and you throw ideas up and you do all those things. We got to this point because you guys are interacting and talking and throwing ideas out and all that, which is how game dev works. That's how I've always enjoyed it. One of the first things when we used to do stuff way back in the beginning, when we were Silicon and Synapse and stuff, it was literally we'd sit in the middle of the big area on the floor playing Magic, talking about different ideas for the game and stuff like that. And we'd just keep throwing stuff out. Some of it stays, some of it didn't. I don't know if they finished American Gods or not. I haven't watched all of them yet. I've gotten to the point where is it? Wednesday just, geez, I don't even remember what the last episode was. I know that the leprechaun was still having trouble with the zombie girl, but I think they had reached a head on it, but I'm not sure. Hmm. Is there a particular criteria for being taken to one or the other? I don't know. I mean, if he said Freya, I think. Hmm. Then we need heal. She rules the underworld. I don't think we're getting rid of all the guards. All we're doing is we're picking 9 of them that the steampunk faction don't want to follow anymore. But all the other gods will still be there. All the other gods will still be followed. The dude is pinned to the tree is where I left off. What? Oh, okay. Yes, in American Gods. Yes, I understand now. Okay, yes. It took me a minute. Like, whoa. I only watched the first season of American Gods. It gets weirder. Second season does get quite a bit weirder. You know. Another one that Gaiman did that I liked was Sandman on I forget what channel it was on. It was on one of the cable channels, but Sandman was very interesting. Weird look, all that kind of stuff. But yeah. Hmm. Held this message. No, that one could be allowed. Sparta, you're always pushing it. It didn't like the "you must die" comment, even though you should have. We're good with it because it's in context. Okay, so this is our little world, and there's going to be some changes, and we're gonna get there. It'll be okay. So this now will change to. I'm assuming what we might want to do is do a Stonehenge type structure where the gods are worshipped, and then our character can go there to discuss things with them and learn stuff. But I would like to have some kind of a statue or something that can be broken that they have to fix to get that god to talk to them. I don't know what blocked that one, but I'm assuming excessive attack and death. Yes. The actual thing that it pointed out was the "you must die." Everything else it seemed perfectly happy with, but when you use the term "you must die," that even though true to the context of the conversation in regards to the gods, it was out of context to the bot. So maybe I need to read up on the realm entirely. Maybe. I know I do. Good idea with the cracked statues. Yeah, that was the original idea, even for the ancestors, is their statues were broken. In fact, we can even do it now. Is that we could say that the some of the followers of the uncle who worked directly in the mines, which is his most loyal people, when they kidnapped Granddad, they also broke up the the ancestor statues. And the way we had it set up before is when some of the first quests our character gets is to go and find the parts for each statue, and as he rebuilds each statue and bring the parts back and puts the statues back together, then the ancestor spirit would come up and give him advice and give him a new power. If we do the same things with the gods, is that now we're talking about 9 gods instead of 9 ancestors, then the altars can still be broken, and then he has to go and find the pieces for each altar to bring the that god back to their realm. So, because this was that was what was holding them, keeping them to the mortal realm. Yeah. Okay, so the statues are like conduits to the mortal realm. Yes. In fact, what we have is, even in this picture, you can see this. We had the statues, and then in the middle we had the a fountain, which is where the water was representing a fountain. And the fountain was how your character talked to your ancestors, to his ancestors, because he would. The fountain is a spirit medium, a spirit conduit. You know, we can do the same thing with the gods. Is that the gods, the spirit conduit to Haroku? Thank you very much for the follow. That's awesome. So the gods can do the same thing. Is that they could, if they talk directly to him, he would blow up. So we could do it to where we'd say they have to go through the conduit to talk directly to our character. Pastel Pain, thank you very much for the follow. So something like that could be kind of cool. Well, I like the idea of an item, but I think that the statue itself has to be completely formed back before even a magic item or something is placed in it. You have to go and find those pieces, because we also have to think about the fact it is still a game, and you still have to go and do things. And I'm a big proponent of, like I said before, about Maslow's human drives. Is this comes into the gathering part of those drives, is we are gatherers by nature. And I want him to be able to go out and gather things that will improve stuff, that will make these things possible. He can't just, okay, I have the amulet, I put the amulet on it. I don't think that's good enough. I think that's kind of a cheap, quick way out. We want him to have to actually work and collect things for it. I think I'd head too far. It'd be really sleepy after a year life of fighting plus cat drawn carriages as my afterlife drive sounds awesome. Okay. It could be that they destroyed the statues while trying to study the ruin work on them so they can implement it to their war machines. But Granddad walked in, a fight ensued, and they figured, we'll take him. Might as well take him and make him tell us how to make the ruins, or how to make the ruins work. It can also be a reason why they, and I'll have to check this with mythology, but is there a ruin that represents each individual god? I don't know if there is, but I'm assuming that there must be something that represents each god from a Viking artistic standpoint. Yeah, exactly. Another one is God. What is that game that? God, I keep losing the name. Animal Crossing is another one where you're collecting stuff all the time. It was a big proponent of that kind of thing. It just kind of worked, where you would, even in the beginning when you go from your SNES and you would hook up your handheld, and then you could go there go out on the island, get coconuts and bring them back and grow coconuts. Things like that are just great for me. I love that kind of stuff. I'm a big proponent of collecting, which is one of the Maslow's drives, and it gives you a huge sense of accomplishment. You're absolutely right. And as each god becomes all powerful, when you get all of them, then obviously as part of winning the game is to get all of them put back together and learn everything from them, and then go and get Granddad back from his brother. You know. But is there a graphic symbol that can be similar to a ruin, or that represents each of the gods? The idea with collecting parts reminds me of Samir, the immortal pig that fed all in Valhalla. He got killed every night and eaten, but they collected all the bones, put them on his pelt. The next morning he revived. Pretty bleak. That reminds me of A Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Hello, may I interest you in one of my ribs? Where the food comes out and talks to you before you're served. You can check the 2 sites of Nordic lore, Nordic ruins I found on shared. Okay, cool. So yes, in a way, just like how in our language we have the ruins. Yeah, okay. So it spells out Odin. Maybe that's part of it. You got to put the ruins back to spell their names. That also gives maybe a dimension to, some have 1, some have 3, some have 5. Is the mind going to be sealed by the mysterious power, or is everything just going to be strong? The mind is pretty much going to be protected by the uncle's minions. So we have to talk about that. We haven't spent any time talking about the mines at all since we did the maps for them a long time ago. It's just that's where a lot of people are loyal to the mine, because that's where they work, and that's where what keeps roofs over their heads. But we haven't talked into what they even mine there. Could be coal, could be just about anything. But because we're in another dimension, it literally can be just about anything. But what I would like to do is, it has a main thing that you mine there. But every now and then there's a very special mineral or something that does things differently. Sorry about the zombie. Didn't know it was coming. Uh, Devil King, I think you're half right. I think that there's going to be certain puzzles inside the mine that you're going to need many of the abilities that you get from the statues. I don't think you need all statues together before going into the mine. I think you need all statues together before going against the uncle. But maybe not the mine. The mine may be that you only need you we set it up to where you need like the first 4 or something, and then you can only go, like, if we have a 16 level mine, you can go through the first 2 levels with the first 4, then the next 2 levels can be with the first 6, that kind of thing, where we break that up. Why would you make it calcium carbide? Calcium carbide. We'll wait for the zombie to pass so that we can look at that. And I would like to understand why.
Brains.
Okay, now that the zombie has passed, brown men, or Bauman Ruto. Why would you make it calcium carbide? You could make the minerals they mine be named after the gods. Example, copper could be. Maybe. We could mine a type of mithril that is used for the town's machines. Maybe. It would be interesting to, if we took that and we combined it with what Sparta just said, name the minerals after gods. And it could be the gods that the steampunk guys hold in high regard. But I do like the idea that there is a rare mineral that they do mine that makes everything they're doing possible from a standpoint of the steampunk side of things. That's close to another idea we had about the alphabet made out of periodic table. Yes, that's what we had talked about a couple weeks ago. In fact, I still have it on the list. Is the alphabet, or last week, is the alphabet on the periodic table, and then we associate the periodic things on the periodic tables to other gods. That could be very interesting. That's a very interesting thought. Was it 2 or 3 days? It just seems like forever ago to me. That sleep that I had to take yesterday, I literally went to sleep literally right after the show yesterday because I was absolutely exhausted. And I did not wake up until this morning when my alarm went off. So I slept 14 hours. So I was really tired. Well, we could mine some type of ore that can be melted down to form a liquid that is used to power machines, maybe? Yeah, it's always great to have those kind of sessions where you're trying different things and talking about different things. 14 hours of good sleep, however, my body's not used to that. I am a 6 or 7 hour guy forever. It's very rare that I sleep that long. However, I did not sleep the night before. So it was my body saying, stop, you have to do this now. But don't feel obligated to be here for us. If you're not feeling up to. No, today I'm fine. Yesterday I was a wreck. Yeah. Technically, your body can't play catch up. It's just it needed rest. I know if we don't use them now, I might some of these ideas later. Yeah. Sleep debt, laugh out loud. Okay, let's see. What is it? We're half past the hour almost. So we'll be finishing this up here in a couple minutes and going on to our next thing. I am on a 48:10 sleep schedule. Yeah, they do that with firemen too. I think firemen and policemen. Not, I don't know about policemen, but I know they do that with firemen, where you have a weird clock. Yeah, having creative conversations are great, and it's okay if these things appear somewhere else or anything like that. We're if I didn't want people to know what we were talking about, we would be doing this a different way. But I want to make sure that people know, look, you know what? This is how good game development happens is you have these conversations, you talk about stuff, you listen to all the ideas, good, bad, indifferent, doesn't matter. You need to listen to them all. And if you don't, then you're just wasting your own time. And it's not worth doing. So keep that in mind. Now we're not, because this probably will not be a released product. We don't. I'm pretty sure it won't be. But it's not like we're trying to keep secrets here. It just is what it is. So yeah, we can go and talk to people's. I cut hair. I make clothes. Everybody has their little sign. Clothing. Bakery. Oh, missed him. I'm Greg, the baker. I am Todd, the butcher. Yeah, so we have characters that we can build tests with and stuff like that. So we don't really have to change their art for right now. We just can start talking about the different things as we come up with different ideas. Does it matter if it's going to be released product? I feel we are all having fun, and it matters for this reason. Great, great Uncle Ann is it matters because if we do make something that can be released, I want to make sure I have a list of everybody that contributed so that we can do something for them. You see what I mean? Right now, it's just we're throwing ideas up and we're making a quick thing and seeing from there. But if it turns into something that is releasable, then it's very, very important that we keep um, uh, uh, lists of everybody that's been involved, everybody that's made it, and then if there's possibly if there's any profits at all, then they can have some compensation. I'm not guaranteeing that because I don't know if what we're going to finish is going to be releasable. So we will see. If nothing else, if people just come and hang out and we come with a bunch of ideas and make something that is something that we all can play, because you guys, what I will do is make sure that whatever our final is, everybody will get a copy of it, just so they can have it, because I think that it's something that can be used for portfolio stuff and things like that. I'm already saving for the demo. Jeez. If there is ever a demo, it will be free. By the way, you still got unexplored concepts in the thing I sent you. Yes, I have not been able to, like I said, last night, it's just been a very busy week. There's a lot going on in my private life that I'm trying to work through as well. So, as I sent you with a mirror rework, you'll be able to use the new stuff in there as a second village populated by Grandpa's faction. Cool. Buy the demo. The demo. Got it. Funny. Paid demo, not a paid demo. The only pay on the demo right now is everybody's input. I already got 3 kidneys in the freezer for the demo. Funny. God, he's learning from his son. The demo is going to cost an arm and a leg. We are not going to get into this kind of discussion. Only one of them is yours. Cute. You don't know that. You may have taken the full route and had both kidneys removed and now is on dialysis for the rest of his life. What is that? If we get to a demo stage, we will have a party. Okay. I'll agree with that. No, but anything that anybody helps, I'm gonna be very open with what they did. You know, it's just the way I am. You know, I think I've showed that. I may not be perfect at it, but I do try to keep track of everything. There have been a lot of people helping today, so I will have to go back through the chat and get a list of names and stuff like that, just so I have them, so that we can make sure that, because I don't have a credit on this section of our show yet. So I do need to build a credit screen just for it, which I think is a great idea anyway. And then we can run credits when we first come in. And I think that would be good for a start. But right now I'll keep it to, it'll definitely be easy because I can go to the concept art section and pull names from there. Oh, there's a concept art chat now. Cool. Oh, wait, submission and chat. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Savvy. Mm-hmm. Oh, there's also a chat. Cool. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I have not seen any of that. 162 answers. Cool. Cool beans. You have been busy. I can see that. You are always busy. You're always doing some cool stuff too. I have to give you huge credit for that. 15 questions. Okay, I will have to go through these and probably answer them tomorrow. Yeah, let me, there's a lot. So I will go through those. Let's see, we are going to, oh, we're late actually. All right. Let us close up the game dev for now.